Okay, so I'm Tiffany Rice. I'm class of 2020, fashion design here at BCCC. And, coming here was easily hands down one of the best decisions that I've made in my life. You actually have a bulletin board in the background that has a sewing machine featured on it that says fashion sewing is my therapy. And literally that's how it started for me. I was in graduate school and I just had this internal urge to pick up the sewing machine. I had a little bit of interest when I took family and consumer sciences in middle school, but just didn't get a chance to nurture that talent. But when I got a little bit more freedom living on my own in graduate school, just something in me told me to pick up that sewing machine. And just the rest is history. And I just got this nagging feeling that I needed to come to design school. And, I did it. I didn't know exactly what my plan was when I came here. Like, I thought maybe I might start a blog or something like that where I document some of my projects, but I just did not know that fashion would just explode my world in a way that it did. BCCC is responsible for my I guess pushing me to do my first fashion shows. There was faculty here that convinced me to do DC Fashion Week, and believe it or not, on that very day that I did DC Fashion Week, I became a brand. I became a brand. In terms of how my sewing journey really started, it really was born out of my own self-esteem journey. I was a plus size young woman, and we just didn't have as many garment options on the market at the time. Now there's a lot more, trendier clothes out, but at the time, we're talking a decade ago, there really wasn't as many options for young and trendy people. And so I started making my going out clothes. And that was just my little secret escape from, being in grad school for social work. And then I just started mixing and mingling. I used to go to New York and hang out at fashion events. And one of the events that I went to, summer of, I think 2015 it was a swimwear event. Sorry, I got tongue tied there. And I created my first swimsuit for that event because at the time, Forever 21 had just started making their first collection of plus size swimwear, but the fit was off. And I guess, I don't know if you call it ego or what, I knew the media was going to be there, and so I knew the fit needed to be right. And so I deconstructed the swimsuit. I used the fabric, but I deconstructed it and made it into my own. Second year I went to the same event, and that swimsuit that I made, I ended up in a fashion magazine. I ended up in Essence magazine style for that swimsuit. And when it became time for me to actually go to fashion school, and it came time for me to do my first fashion show, it was just kind of like a no-brainer for me to do swimwear. And so I liked the challenge, but also it was part of my own self-esteem journey, learning to accept myself as a plus size girl, that really got me into fashion. And it just continues to, go. I love working with women. I love inspiring them. I love helping them love themselves. I think that's just a part of just naturally being Tiffany. That's a part of me being a therapist, by training. And I see those worlds get to come together when I do my work with my brand, Mylk Honey.
And I love that concept when you said plus size women, because we all know today it's more plus size women than unplus size women, and we do want to feel beautiful as well. Talk about the color blocking, your color palette, in when you create, and also in the processing, your processing from what inspired in processing your garment line for plus size swimwear women.
Yeah. And see, these particular swimsuits, they are straight size because I do work with a variety of sizes. But even when I do work with a variety of women, I always make sure I have space for plus size women. I always talk about when I design, when I think about my clothing,
Mm-hmm.
I tell everyone I dream in color.
Right.
I never design in black.
Mm-hmm.
Now, maybe, after I do the initial, design, I might make a copy in black, but I never design in black. I think in very bright colors. And even with my own personal style, I love colors. And I've actually equated my love for color and my inspiration with color with my African American journey. And not even just African American, being part of the African diaspora. A lot of my personal clothes are made of Ankara. When you look at African media, it's bright colors. You look at the music videos, bright colors. And so my use of color really does come from, I feel like, my African American experience, my black experience, growing up as a kid in the 90s in New York, the bright colors, Puff Daddy with bright suits on, gold jewelry and so on. That was the aesthetic that I grew up on. So really my use of color is, for me, a part of my blackness.
Awesome, because I do like when you emphasize, when you put the ethnicity, the boldness of the color, historical as you put together, because I too remember being part of this particular class that we're doing now when you was under me, because I still have, right to this day, and you knew my favorite color is red.
And I made you a bright red swimsuit.
That I
bright
on the
red.
Yes.
Fire engine lipstick red.
And I still have it right to this
Mm-hmm.
day. I haven't put it on yet,
Uh-huh.
still, but I still have it, and I cherish that today, that I too have a piece of Mylk and Honey, the Mylk and Honey line.
Mm-hmm.
Now, even though you are a luxurious alum,
Mm-hmm.
and I love it with you because you come back and pay back to the students and talk to the students. You have a bright future that you get ready to take a new journey
Yes.
with you. Can you explain to us the new journey that you're about to explore in this industry?
Yeah. So actually it was my time at BCCC that had reignited a desire to go abroad. To go to Europe and stay in Europe. I kind of missed that boat when I originally went to undergrad, but when I came back to BCCC and I was a student again, I realized that I had this opportunity to travel on student visa again. And so it felt like this was my shot again. And so I always kept it in the back of my mind. Some of my peers, I talked about it. I would always talk in the context of when I get to go to London, when I get to go to London, when I get to go to London. And I graduated during the pandemic. And so the timeline was shifted a bit, but the travel laws had shifted as well. And so they extended the timelines that people could travel on student visa. So you didn't have to do it within a year of graduating. You could do it within 2 years of graduating. And so I graduated in the summertime. We had our ceremony on YouTube, summer 2020. And so by spring 2022, I was in London. And it just all made sense to me, because it's like I had it just felt like a calling from the first time I went to Europe, first time I went to London when I was 15. Even though objectively I kind of didn't have a good time on that trip, just with the group that I was with, but it was something that was ignited in me. And it was strange, like I would have these moments in my life where it's like, I miss Europe, I need to go back to Europe. It was so unexplained. It was almost like it was like a past life memory, or like something like downloaded in my DNA at the time. And so BCCC like gave me that fire, and I went back, and when I actually stayed in London for a few months, it just all made sense for me. Like, I met so many nice people. The culture, the industry, they very much value sewing. They very much value the fashion industry. Is one of the top 3 fashion industry cities in the entire world. And I just fell in love with it, and it just started to make sense. And so now I'm returning, this time with an actual visa, a talent visa, a global talent visa. So I was endorsed for, actually it's one of the highest visas that you can get in the UK. It's actually nicknamed the Genius Visa. And so I actually had a Genius Visa for fashion design. And I kind of underestimated myself in the process, because there's different levels of visa that you can apply for. And, you know, based on my background and the descriptions that they gave, I thought I would come in at the potential level. They have like a level for like, oh, you got some promise. But they ended up giving me a higher visa than I even applied for. And, you know, I just got that feeling again, like, hey, this is that shot, you know, this is the shot, you know, and I just went with it. And, you know, I just enjoyed the relationships that I've built in London. I had my first fashion show there last October, so the end of October. Actually, it was like Halloween weekend, that time frame. And so you'll see some of the prints actually from the London show. So these actually did come from the London show, believe it or not. Awesome. Yeah. And so so you'll see on my video some of I made some newer stuff in the London prints, but yeah, this came directly from my last show, which was in London.
That is awesome. And I like it when you said that, and it comes to me, speak those things that are not as those they are, because even though you were saying, I'm gonna get there, I'm gonna get there, I'm gonna get there, and now you're getting there, and the beauty part about it, as you were speaking it, believing it, walking it, they're giving you the highest that you did not underestimate. Sometimes we just like underestimate, but it shows that doors has been opened, that you're going walking in your potential. For those who are coming behind you, so you had already talked about your future, what you're going to be doing, so they really don't need to ask, because you're really walking in what you're saying you're going to do. For those future fashion designers that are walking in your path, what inspiration, encouraging words, advice do you give to the students and future designers that's coming up behind you on the same path that you're traveling?
2 things stand out in my mind. The first is and they actually relate to each other. The first is to put yourself out there. No one's going to know your designs if you don't go places, if you don't show. And I know I was, you know, a bit ambitious. That's, I guess, kind of my personality. So I would put myself out there by doing runway shows. And while like my first runway show started locally, like in Washington, D.C. But yes, and you were there. Yes. You were there. And the excitement of it all.
Yes, it was.
Because apparently I did the first complete full figure like line in DC Fashion Week history, and I was just doing a student project. I just thought I was just being true to myself. That's what I did, but didn't even know that it would shake up the crowd in the way that it did. But put yourself out there. You know, there are so many shows, there are so many opportunities to go all around the nation and show. Some of these shows have very, you know, affordable designer fees, you know, in the low 100s. Some of them are actually free. And the reason why I like doing fashion shows is because it always forced me to be better. But it also prevented me from being lazy, because there was always a crowd that was there. And it forced me to get better each time, because I would remember my last show and maybe the mistakes I made or what I wanted to do differently. And it just always, it drove my creativity. It allowed me to get in touch with my creative process. Like, for instance, music inspired me quite a bit. I'll choose a song that's the theme of the show. And it may not actually be the track that's played on there, but it's the inspiration. And almost in this synesthesia kind of way, the music will create image in my head. And that's where the designs are born out of. Second, and it relates to that first statement that I made, travel. There's so many young people here, especially when you're under 30. You are allowed to go to so many different places in the world on a young people's visa, on student visas. They give a lot of those young people travel privileges when you are under, 30. Places like Japan, places like France, places like Ireland and the UK. Your mind explodes when you're exposed to this. And we have the benefit of Baltimore being a very creative, focused city. And I appreciate the creatives that helped nurture me here. Actually, I have one of them here. She's a DJ. She's actually a legend in the Baltimore club music scene.
I think I've seen her before.
Yes. But like, she was one of those creatives that helped nurture me and, being in that energy. And then for me to lean into my own, creativity, But we're also bigger than Baltimore. And the world deserves to see Baltimore beyond the wire.
Exactly.
It's a certain energy that comes. So yeah, put yourself out there. If that means getting a summer job so that you can, pay for your fees, they might cost maybe like $2,000-$3,000 initially up front, but the student paperwork allows you to get a part-time job when you're over there. Go take that internship. Grow your skills, meet other people, because that will keep your name in people's mouths. And to be honest, the vast majority of the opportunities I had is because people spoke of me when I wasn't in the room. Because I can't afford to have my eyes everywhere. I'm still working social work. I still do therapy and teach classes and stuff like that. But so much of it came from people speaking of me when I wasn't in the room. I ended up going to LA doing a show for BET Awards weekend with celebrity stylists, all the reality TV stars and all of that stuff in the audience. And then he came back to me because he saw the work that I put in. He's like, I have a service. I could put your clothes on celebrities. Now, at the time, I was paying for BCCC out of pocket. So I was like, listen, I got to pay for my classes, okay? I can't do this right now. Exactly. But, awesome. These opportunities do come up, and it's not impossible. And really, I feel like I'm only at the tip of the iceberg in terms of what I'm capable of, where my career is going. But it's so many things happen here. Fashion was the first thing that allowed my name to be on a billboard. And these things are not out of reach. If you're passionate and you put your heart into it and you bring your unique style sense, people are going to jam with you. Awesome. You will have a fan base and people will support you. Awesome. And like I said, they will speak your name in rooms when you are not there.
Awesome. And then one thing I like about it, talking with you, feeling your aura, your spirit, is the humility. A lot of people speak on that, how humility plays a big part in this industry of getting you out there, because a lot of designers, especially amongst the African American, that they don't understand, if you humbled, it can go further. Expound a little bit more on that, because a lot of designers do not realize or understand being humble. I know from experience, in this industry is going to take you further than coming in thinking you're a big boss and with a bad attitude. Expound to us that humility, how it helped you in this industry to get where you at now.
You know, it's a fine balance. You know, you have to be aware of three things. You know, what you do bring to the table, where you need to grow, but also have that humility there. Humility doesn't mean that you have to look down upon yourself, but it also means that you understand where your growth needs to be. And, you know, in my case, you know, coming from a world of being like a therapist and then having this self-esteem focus on my work, I bring myself to these spaces where there aren't a lot of people kind of like me. But you know what it costs? Loyalty in this field. I repeat work with certain models. When I do a call for models, people are clamoring to work with me because your humility, treating people nice, helping people love themselves, which we're in an industry where they sell clothes based on making you not love yourself.
Exactly.
You know? And that has caused, like I said, a lot of loyalty from different people in the field. Like I said, it makes people more willing to speak my name up when I'm not in the room. And it makes you open to learning and going places where you can learn. One of the reasons why I'm so excited about London is so many classes and so many things to learn. You know, Central St. Martin's is one of the top fashion schools in the world, and they have little weekend courses and stuff. I would love to go take a corset making class over there. I would love to take like a swimsuit business class over there. That would be so fun to just network with people. And just the world, you know, the world opens up. It really opens up. You know, again, it's about balance, you know, knowing what you bring to the table, knowing what your unique aesthetic is. But yeah, because oftentimes people who lack humility, it's sad because they kind of don't know what they don't know.
Exactly.
And so it does kind of end up looking foolish, you know. Some of my classmates and I have joked before, back when I was here, and some of them had like little, you know, little, I guess, fake internships with like some of the cool people, you know, the cool stylists or whatever like that. Yeah. But you know, we would joke. I was like, I bet you they don't even backstitch on the machine when they're sewing their garments, and they don't. They don't. They're sewing fur, other stuff, the fur falling off at the event.
Oh,
you know.
We had some time. Yes, we did. We had some good times. I
was like, they don't even know the backstitch, you know.
Timing, even though in timing, that far as time management, and being your instructor, my theory was what? Before time, what is on time? If you on time, you're late. Because I will lock that door because it's real in this industry.
But she gave me grace, though. I have to say, she gave me so much grace, because I think she ended up, Professor Jackson picked up that like I was trying to balance a career and be here, and I would try to come running come from work. Yeah.
What about that in the industry? Because a lot of designers don't understand deadlines and having things done before time, because in this industry, speak on the importance, because there going to be a designer out there don't realize timing. Explain the importance of deadlines and before deadlines in this industry, because our future designers our future young designers as well as old do not understand that. Explain real quickly the briefness of importance of that in this industry.
Okay, so a couple of things come to mind. Personally, with timing, you have to strike when the iron is hot. You know, this is a dynamic industry, and people lose interest quickly because there are a lot of young, hungry people out there. And so when a certain opportunity comes, sometimes you have to know how to jump on it. But also as an industry, as a global industry, we are very much based on having strict timelines, from production to having to have, you know, garments produced at the factory in time in order for order fulfillment if you're wholesaling to like a retailer, or even if you're doing the independent route where maybe you're crowdfunding or you're doing like what's it called, pre-order campaigns. You lose people's interest, you lose people's trust when you aren't timely, but also it can be very expensive. If you said that you're going to fulfill that order for Macy's in a 4-week turnaround and it turns to be 8, that might actually throw off the entire season. And that can lose some people millions. So, you know, it's very, because, you know, in your class, you know, textile science, you know, we talk about that supply chain. You know, fashion moves through a supply chain. You throw off something in that supply chain, it's a wrap. And if you're new in the game, that could be catastrophic for your career. Now, if you're doing one-off, handmade, made to measure stuff for people, sometimes there is a little bit of flexibility in there. But you also have to know yourself. You have to know your style. One of the things that I had to learn, now having done probably a dozen runway shows now, I had to learn to pace myself. You know, my creative energy, my regular energy gets taxed when I have to rush. And so there has to be a timeline to allow myself to plan, get my supplies, account for if there might be, it ran out in one place and I got enough time to go get it somewhere else, knowing what my energy looks like up and down, especially if I'm working a full-time job, so that I can get this done without being stressed.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure to see my alum come back.
Thank you. I love coming here.
Flourish, and it's going to blossom even the more in this industry. I want to say personally, I'm so proud of you.
Thank
to
you.
be your instructor here in this department.
Thank you.